My grandpa is a very special guy. He used to do around 50 push-ups every day, the first thing he wake up to do. So he'll wake up on his bed, and then he will get off the bed. Without even putting a shirt on, he would just start doing push-ups. I think he was around 60 something year old at the time. And he still does it till this day when he is in his 70s. So it's a very particular kind of guy. I grew up with my grandparents in their house. So sometimes when I was waking up and I see my grandpa just working out, he asked me to join him to do some kind of exercise when I was like literally this tall. So yeah, it's a very interesting guy. And he also taught me a lot about the way people should live their lives and then how to engage in the world in a proper way. Well, his most important ideology, I think, is that he's a guy that's happy all the time. Like, you don't quite understand why he's happy because it's not immediately apparent why he's always so joyful. But you can see he views the world in a lens of humor or in the lens of positivity. He doesn't even see generally like negative news as negative news. When he sees a piece of bad news on the TV or something, for example, someone going to an accident, he actually kind of makes humor out of it. It's like he's trying to see the ridiculous nature of world events, like US trying to launch a missile in Afghanistan. He find it incredibly ridiculous and humorous instead of being maybe triggered or angered by it or bothered by it. So he has this kind of mindset that I think is very interesting because this makes him just so much more friendly and approachable. So sometimes he walk around the entire neighborhood just wearing, sometimes he actually wear a suit going around, which is something that I find funny as well. So you sometimes go around the neighborhood and talk to literally every single person on the block, right? You see one person and then start like chatting with them. And he doesn't only talk about like everyday things. He like to engage people in some sort of more deeper conversation, I would say. But also, it's not that he's taking it very seriously at the same time. He's trying to make fun of it or trying to be joyful or happy about the deep conversation he's having. So this just makes him like pretty approachable, and then I think most people in the neighborhood really, really love him. And then you can see him a lot of times surrounded by other people. So this is something I really admire about my grandpa because he's a person's person, and then he liked to be engaged with the people, and then he are truly loved by the people, and you can see how people respond to his energy, how people just drawn to him almost as if he's a default leader. Also, he never really tried to lead, or he never really tried to enforce anything on people, never really want to directly, overtly tell people to do what he wants them to do. But it's just this idea that he actually gets people to be in his team or be around him, and that makes the other people happy too. So he provides this value to make people feel connected. And I think just very admirable. That's something I really want to do in my life as well. To be that kind of person that when I'm in an environment, I want the people around me to feel some level of happiness. I want the people around me to feel comfortable and at ease and relaxed when I'm there. At the same time, my grandpa is also someone with extreme discipline. So he wakes up every single day at around the same time and go to bed exactly at the same time every single day. This is very interesting because when you are at that age, it's actually a lot harder to do this than a young person. Now I sleep at the same time every single day at 11:30 p.m. and I wake up at around 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. every single morning. So for me, sometimes it's quite easy. But for older people, because their sleep schedule sometimes is a little bit messed up, you can see how it is potentially harder for older adults to do this than young adults like myself right now. But he still keeps the schedule no matter what, even if he doesn't get enough rest throughout the night, which is something I find really interesting because Most people just want to sleep as much as possible. But he actually want to maintain the schedule more than he want to get fully rested. So there's this idea of when you are disciplined, when you are a smart person that are disciplined, it means you have strong ambition. It means you have power over your life. You have control over your life. You are creative by nature, because when you are in the schedule, so you don't need a daily schedule, you don't really need to think about what to do at a certain point during the day. You don't need to constantly think about, at this time I need to do this, at this time I need to do this. You're now unbothered by schedules because you're living the schedules almost by default. Now you're freeing your brain up to do potential creative tasks. So your brain is now able to potentially just create something, just do imaginative work, which is very important because our society nowadays, we're very advanced in our AI technology, artificial intelligence technology, and a lot of our computer system has been gradually becoming so much more smarter. So a computer you buy today from today's model, like in 2022, it's just so much more advanced than the highest level of models, computer models in literally 5 years ago. Our computing power today is so much stronger than even just 1 year ago. It's a huge difference because our technology has been growing so fast that sometimes it unfortunately has replaced a lot of jobs in the market right now for our general public. Now, just think about this for a second. If you were to acquire a taxi driver's license, maybe 5 years back, now this license that you obtained will be completely replaced by someone that just decided, okay, I'm gonna start driving for Uber. So that person, without going through the whole system of certification, he is now able to perform even better in the taxi market by just driving for Uber, driving for Lyft. So these online apps are replacing so much more of our traditional occupations. So another point that you need to think about is how much jobs nowadays are being replaced by AI. If you think about it, really, when you go to a Tim Hortons or Starbucks, a coffee shop, you will order normally to a person, but that was 5 years ago. Now we can just go in and then there's a screen in the middle of the shop and you can just click on the screen to order yourself and then self-checkout. Just think about grocery stores nowadays. Every single grocery stores have self-checkouts. It's not a one-off thing. They actually prefer self-checkout as natural usage of people, because with self-checkout you will use so much less cashiers, right? So these mechanical jobs, something like a cashier or something like a clerk in any shops, these positions, because they're very simple in its nature, they're being replaced by AIs. And the only jobs that are non-replaceable by AI is creative jobs. Because any amount of force, if you're physically really strong and you can lift a lot, you're not going to be stronger than automated robot arms, right? Just think about the construction sites. Back in the days, we need so many more workers on construction sites. Now we have machines, people that operate these machines, but nonetheless, we're moving towards automation, even in construction sites. Just think about Tesla's factory. It's almost 100% automized, with almost zero workers in their home base that's producing Tesla Model 3 cars. So just think about this point, that if you are not working a creative job, you're essentially potentially giving yourself to be replaced by artificial intelligence and things like that, not too far in the future. So I think my grandpa's getting onto something, because by maintaining a schedule, daily schedule throughout the entirety of his life, he's actually prompting himself to be potentially doing more creative works. So he's positioning himself to be able to be more creative and influence the world by using his brain and imagination. That's really lovely. Now, My grandpa is the kind of guy that's also at the same time very ultra masculine, if you will say, because I think he was raised in a time that's of war. It was right at the end of Chinese Civil War when he was born. So around that time, there's a lot of struggles in life. A lot of people starve. A lot of people just die in natural births because the hospital system was not properly done. The health system was really poor at the time in China when he was born. And then everything is working against the average person living around that age. So there's a level of hardship that prompted this initial idea of how to be strong, how to be a strong person in a society. And I think from today's standard, it feels something like being masculine, right? Being traditionally masculine is being a strong person that takes responsibilities and works through the hardship that life brings you. So that's something that my grandpa just naturally started doing. When he was younger, he was working in a factory, I think for around 11 hours per day. And I could be wrong about the precise number, but it was a really long time throughout the entire day. And he had seen a lot of deaths because by the time, at that time, the industry was not fully developed for factories. So essentially there were faulty machines that potentially just killed so many people. So many his co-workers just died because machines are not working properly. I think he has seen someone that's boiled to death. And someone has their arm melted off by an iron molding machine. So there's something tremendously hard around that time that he was growing up. Now it's not as hard as wartime, head-on wartime, because during war times there's so many more hardship and deaths, yes. But my grandpa also grew up in a very difficult time. Also, without war, the society was not at peace with itself. There's so much struggles in the daily life of just surviving, just keeping yourself alive. It was a hard thing to do at the time. So my grandpa actually grew up in this kind of environment. That's why he sees the world in a very strong lens. Now, he's very positive, but he's also strong and reliable at the same time, which I think is just so much more admirable. You could be a positive person and then look at the world in a very goofy way. You just goofing off every single day and then make fun of people. That's not entirely a good life to live. You need to also have responsibility and kind of understanding of the truth of the world while being positive, optimistic about everything you see. So these are two philosophies I think I really want to learn from my grandpa. The way he influenced other people, the way he radiates almost sun-like radiance to make people feel positive when they're around him, to make people feel connected and make people feel like they belong in the community when he's around them. And also, he's a really strong guy that always watched boxing. That's his only sports. That's the only sports that he watched because he thinks other sports are feminine, right? If you look at, he only watched boxing and track and field, which is essentially because these two, like to him, are the only sports that display complete ultra strength of the body. So track and field, you couldn't really hack it because you have to be actually fast or actually strong. Or like weightlifting, there's not much tricks to it. Well, a sports like tennis and basketball and table tennis and badminton, these kind of really popular sports, or soccer, these kind of really popular sports have a strong skill component to it. So you can train to be good at basketball, but not good at anything else, right? You can train to be very good table tennis player, but this skill wouldn't transfer to anything else in life. So he's disregarding the skills displayed in the sports, but focusing more solely on the effect of sports on your body and on the strength of your character. That's why he liked track and field, and that's why he liked direct confrontational sports. So the most brutal, primal type of sports, such as boxing, like MMA, like UFC fights, like something he usually watch. So at one point, at one side, he's very masculine. His worldview is, if you're strong, you're good. If you're weak, you're probably evil. At the other side, he's also very positive and optimistic about the world. So there's this dichotomy within him that I think is so attractive and so admirable for me. And I want to try to replicate that, because I feel like today's society, we're being raised in such a weak way. People in my generation, we didn't grow up with any hardship. If you are in like a medium income household, you're getting fed every single day with good food, probably, and you're wearing clean clothes. There's no like real struggle that you face. The biggest struggle you might face maybe is like getting girls in middle school, elementary school, or getting through different exams, which are in comparison just like non-comparable to the kind of hardship that our parents and grandparents are facing. So we're growing up in very privileged times, and then the way we view the world is not very consistent with how the world is, because only recently the world has become very peaceful. Only recently the world has become very neutral. Back in the days, there's so much conflict and so much potentiality of death and danger around us, and our city now are safe, and our city now are overall a genuinely wholesome place to stay in. So we are missing out the skill of self-defense. We're missing out the skill that make us stand up to authority. We're losing the skills that make a strong person in our mind. So that's very important that we regain these skills, regain this power that we're missing from the ancient time or the older times or even our parents' generation. Because without being strong, we're not going to survive this decade. Without being strong, whenever there's a conflict in the world, like the Ukrainian war, it's a wake-up call. Like, it's a slap on the face for us to wake up, because you can see even the relatively developed country of Russia and Ukraine could go into this kind of conflict. So everyone else is in danger too. Everywhere else in the world, there's a potentiality of going to complete utter conflict. That's very dangerous. We need to be able to understand that. We need to be able to understand the dangers that are around us all the time. And it's only going to be worse from now on. The world is going to have more conflict. And the currency is going to be more unstable. At this time, you need to think about, how do you survive this when you don't have the skill and power and strength in your body and mind? When you're being raised, people didn't tell you how to survive in a war. People didn't tell you how to survive in a turbulent time with unbalanced currency, like government just printing money out of their butt. We're not raised in that kind of society, and now we are in it. So we are in danger right now, but we're not really equipped to fight this danger. That's why I think it's so crucial for us to learn some kind of the mindset of people in our older generations, maybe our father generations, but even better, our grandparents' generation, because those people are raised in the bad times. Those people are raised to be strong. And then when we learn from them, when we directly copy or study the way they move around the world, the way they view the society, there is wisdom, there is some knowledge to be gained from understanding the way they think. So that's it about my grandpa. And I really admire him. He's still fighting strong to this day, doing push-up every single morning. And I really admire that he's both strong and optimistic. I think that make a good person. That definitely make a strong person that will really likely to succeed in the society. Thank you so much. I hope you stay strong. I will see you in the next one. Okay? See ya.